We're live. Chase, BYU-Arizona preview today. We're recording Monday morning right now. Chase, this game is so brutal. I've mentioned this on the previous pods multiple times, but if you've lived on the East Coast, I feel so sorry for every East Coast listener and every East Coast BYU fan. This game's on at 11 p.m. Eastern time. This game's not going to finish till with reviews and fouls and replays. This game's not getting done till 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel bad for us, Karter. We got to stick around. We got to record, all for you guys listening. We're happy to do it, of course, but going to be a late night. And you know it's going to be close. You know it's going to be a close game. Heaven forbid it's overtime, right? And it's just going to come down. Like those last 3 minutes, Karter, are going to take 30. And it's going to be late night.
Yep, both coaches are going to have 2 timeouts each. They're just using them back to back. Stoppages, replay, clock issues. You name it, it's going to happen. Somehow this game is going to stretch into 2 a.m. East Coast time. And, I was doing the math yesterday. After we record and everything, we should be getting out of the Marriott Center around 1:30, 2 a.m. Mountain Time. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. But anyhow, BYU-Arizona preview. Right now, the analytics places, Bart Torvik and Ken Palm, they have BYU actually favored in this game by 1. I don't know if that'll actually be the case when Vegas comes out with their line later today, but BYU favored by 1 against this Arizona team. Massive quad 1 chance here, Chase.
Absolutely massive. And the fact that they might even be favored, I think is the biggest testament to the change BYU's had. If you were to put a line on this game, a few weeks ago, with the way Arizona's been playing, only 1 conference loss, which is to Texas Tech, which is, just knocking off Houston, looking like, if not the best team, then obviously up there. You'd be shocked. I mean, Arizona's playing amazing right now. They had that miracle win, of course, against Iowa State with the half quarter. Caleb Love coming off of just big dubs for them, and BYU has a chance to knock them off late night Tuesday in the Marriott Center. It's a huge advantage for the Cougars, and they might even get favored by Vegas, which is wild to me. But huge testament to what BYU's been doing. They have a chance, and the metrics, right, that we covet in college basketball even gives the Cougars a slight edge.
Which is crazy because we tweeted that out from the Church Ball account that BYU has been favored in every single Big 12 game except for Houston, which is still kind of bananas to me. Even through that 3-4 game skid, it didn't matter. Yeah, the opponents were in BYU's favor. Yeah, a lot of those were home games as well. But, I mean, even being favored on the road at UCF, UCF, if Kansas goes and plays on the road, that was only like a 4.5-point line in that game. So just a testament to BYU and what they've done so far this season and what the analytics teams believe in them. And Chase, I talked about this before we recorded. Another thing is since the Colorado game, BYU has jumped about 60, 70 spots in their pace so far this season. They were ranked in the low 300s, like 290 range before that Colorado game. Now they're in the 230s, climbing up and starting to play a faster tempo right now. So that second half of the Colorado game has really just changed everything.
It's changed everything, and it's paid off, right? Obviously going on this streak of wins and with the chance to knock off a really good Arizona team who we didn't even mention will probably be ranked today in the AP poll.
We're recording before the AP poll comes out, but I would assume they're going to be ranked.
I would assume so too, with the way they've been playing in conference play. So it's changed everything. It's the pace. We've talked about it a million times, but can't say it enough. It makes everything better. You're obviously shooting better. You're in rhythm. You're flowing. You turn the ball over less. You rebound better. You're in position defensively better. And it's worked miracles for the Cougars. And we've seen guys thrive in it. Guys that we didn't even know could have this sort of offensive output. Talking about Mawit Mag, and even Richie Saunders has been an absolute baller to the extent that we love Richie. We always have, but he's putting up numbers that no one thought he would. And that's because of this pace. He's been put in the perfect position thanks to pushing the ball to knock down threes at an incredible rate. And also, do his Richie thing where he hits backdoor cuts and, he drives to the basket and hits those floaters. So it's been huge for everyone. And BYU's got a chance here to do it against a team who I would say, Karter, is pretty similar, likes to push the ball, loves to shoot the three, and has one of the most polarizing players in college basketball in Caleb Love.
Regardless of how the rest of the season goes, Richie making the decision to return to BYU and commit to Kevin Young over going to a coach he knew in Mark Pope and going to a big-time school, blue blood like Kentucky, that's a ballsy move. Even if the money was probably similar, that's still a very risky move, and it has paid off huge dividends for Richie Saunders and what his career potential looks like. I mean, when you get told, when Kevin Young probably in his recruiting pitch said, hey, we want to play you this way, we think this is going to be your best chance at going to the NBA. I don't think Pope and Richie were really talking about the NBA when they were together. And him playing this bigger role on this BYU team has completely shifted the trajectory of his career.
Absolutely. It's been massive, and the way that scouts have whispered about him, that we've heard from a few people, and the way that he's now being perceived as a draft prospect is, and I mean this no offense to Richie, but inconceivable a year ago with the way that things were, and that's a credit to him and how much work he's put in. It's also, to your point, Karter, been huge for BYU having him here, being able to be the guy that, in that Colorado game in that first half would be when it looked like, oh, here comes BYU again, blowing a easy one, right? He was the one that kind of willed them back into it with his scoring and with his just energy. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the turning points of the season. One of the things that we will point to and say this halftime of Colorado, right? And so that was a huge credit to him and the whole team, of course, but Richie's been completely invaluable. Obviously the leading scorer, right, for BYU at this point, but he does so much more as well that has made BYU a totally different team from 3 weeks ago.
Going into this game, I know I keep mentioning it, but it's such a shame this is a 9 p.m. Tuesday tip-off. If this was a 7 p.m. Saturday tip-off, I feel like we'd get a much better environment. It's unfortunate that it's going to be a 9 p.m. tip-off. Like, tickets are $19 after fees right now on SeatGeek. Like, you can get in the building for $19 to see BYU versus Arizona. This game's on a Saturday. This is like a $60, $70 ticket.
Yeah, we've talked about it before the season, right? The Saturday games just have more juice. It's just more people are there. More people have free time, I think, to show up. But I mean, Tuesday's environment against Baylor was still great, and I expect this one to be just as good.
That's the thing, is I'm hoping I say these things and I get proven wrong very, very badly, because, Rock's probably still going to show out, and I just think this is such a huge game for BYU, and we keep saying that every single game of how it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it has been, in getting these high top quality Q1 wins is how you get into the tournament. We talked about this when we went through, okay, what's their path? How can they make it to the tournament? They got to go 6-5, but they got to win one of these top Q1 games, whether it's at Iowa State, whether it's Kansas at home, whether it's at Arizona or Arizona at home. One of those 4 games, you need to show the committee that, hey, you can beat one of these top teams and show you're capable of making a splash when it comes to potentially making a run in March Madness. Because, and also, I'll put this out there, none of those games are not unwinnable. Everybody in this Big 12 is very beatable. It's clear. We've seen it this weekend where, okay, Houston goes down to Texas Tech. Iowa State, they lose as a 13.5-point favorite at home against Kansas State. They're sliding a little bit. Kansas can't find their footing. They blew a 21-point lead on the road at Baylor, a team BYU just took care of at the Marriott Center. Every single team in this conference is beatable, and there should be real hope for BYU fans going forward the rest of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, already 2 quad 1 wins with another on the way if they can pull this off, and a great chance to do it. I mean, the home crowd environment is a huge advantage for the Cougars. You have 2 big, like you said, those big kind of big game hunting games with Arizona and Kansas that you get to play at home in the Marriott Center are just incredible opportunities. And you're right, you kind of do need to win one of those games if you're BYU. Why not tomorrow night? Why not against Arizona in Provo, when you're on this stretch of figuring things out and on a roll of wins? It's kind of the perfect opportunity. Also, Arizona, coming off of This is their second road game in a row, and they've I mean, the other one was against Arizona State, so they're not doing
not
too
a lot
much
of travel.
traveling. But they're away from home, and they've looked really dang good, Karter. I mean, the Arizona Wildcats have been balling, and BYU's going to have a tough time on Tuesday, but we're going to talk about, I'm sure here soon, what they're going to do to be able to pull off a win.
Yeah, let's talk about that right after the break. Chase, let's talk about the BYU-Arizona game. Let's preview and let's predict this game right now. Like I said before earlier in the show, I think BYU is going to be probably a 1-point favorite at home. If anybody has ever looked into Vegas spreads and anything like that, this game is likely going to be a unranked home favorite against a ranked opponent, and that is just juicy stuff right there. I love seeing that, and that's a great sign if you're the home team. You're like, I want to be the underdog and everything like that. In that situation, Vegas is telling the world that, hey, we know something.
Yeah, they are, and it's crazy because if you talk to us in the way that we've watched BYU, and we've obviously been tapped in more than just about anyone this season, we probably, if you had to set this line, Karter, you probably, and we've done this the last few weeks. Maybe we're just pessimists. We've typically tried to lean towards the other team, just the way that we've seen BYU play at the beginning of conference play. But Vegas, the analytics, it's the numbers that have given everyone confidence in this team and kind of that potential we've talked about. And it's showing in lines, which is like, okay, whatever, the lines are the lines, but it's showing in wins, right? 4 in a row now and an opportunity to win another one. So it's a testament to Kevin Young and the coaching staff, the way that they've turned things around. And it's just crazy. They're favored in every single conference game, every single one, except for that one at Houston. And they've lost some games they shouldn't have, but then they've been able to pull out some huge wins. So another opportunity. I mean, this is one of the biggest games of the season for momentum. Not if they lose, they're not going to lose a bunch. I don't think. I think they've had some valuable things going forward. If they win this one, Karter, the things going forward and the way that they'll be moving, I mean, it's going to be like an avalanche of just good vibes and great wins, and it's going to lead to so much more for this team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about how we're going to feel. It's going to be 1 a.m. in the Marriott Center. We're going to be like, is this team going, were we wrong about the second weekend stuff at the beginning of the season? I'm looking at the stats right here, and going into this game, there's a few keys for me. Arizona's not a great three-point shooting team. They rank second or third to last in the Big 12 in three-point percentage. The key for BYU coming in here is force Arizona, and especially Caleb Love, to settle for threes. Do not let them penetrate. I think we see quite a bit of zone in this game, actually. And another thing is Arizona's a really, really good rebounding team. That's where they have been winning a lot of their games, especially in Big 12 play. BYU has got to win the battle on the glass, force Arizona to settle for threes. I think that's the recipe for success in this game because BYU, look, Arizona opponent three-point percentage, they're middle of the pack. They're not anything special, but BYU has the ability to get red hot from three. They're shooting 37% from three this year. If that continues and they can shoot around that percentage in this game, I really like BYU's chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Arizona's not the best percentage, but they do love to take threes, and so BYU can take advantage of that. They're also, the Wildcats are guard heavy offensively from the scoring perspective, much like UCF was, much like Baylor was, right? And so the BYU's kind of seen this style of play, and we've been concerned about how they're going to be able to keep the guards in front of them. These athletic guys, they've done a good job, Karter. It's been thanks to the help side defense from guys like Keba and Foose and switching up to zone and stuff like that. So. It's going to be huge for you to be right. To keep teams out of the lane, I think, is a key going forward for all season for BYU. But particularly this Arizona team who loves to put up threes and loves to play maybe a little bit of an ISO-centric basketball, particularly Caleb Love, who we're talking about here, who is the leader of the team, right? Leads scoring and is kind of the top dog there. But it's going to be keeping guys in front of you. And you're right, forcing threes, forcing bad shots. And then rebounding the basketball. Keba and Foose need to be boards on the beasts on the boards and be able to keep the second chance points away. They did a okay job against UCF. I think the second half was much better than the first. But it's going to be huge, and that stems from being physical. Like Arizona's coming into your house, they're ranked. You're technically, I mean, you want to say you're the underdog, maybe not by Vegas terms, but in this instance, right, as far as rankings go, you have a chance here. They need to bring a sense of physicality, a sense of purpose, and kind of just, be all over Arizona defensively and on the boards. Get up in their face, but keep them out of the lane, of course, and don't let them drive by you.
And that's the whole thing about keeping him out of the lane and everything is got to keep Caba out of foul trouble because you need rebounding in this game. And look, Foose hasn't necessarily been himself in recent games, and he struggled against UCF on defense, in my opinion. But that's why it's key. You got to have Caba Keita be able to play a lot of minutes in this game and stay out of foul trouble and be able to be a presence on the glass, getting rebounds, blocking shots, playing help defense when a guy gets blown by. That's the key. That's another big key in this game, too, is keeping him out of foul trouble. And I'm very curious to see, once again, we talk about it every week. We're broken records about this. But Arizona does want to speed up the tempo. And I'm curious to see how BYU reacts to that, whether they want to slow it down because they know Arizona's game plan is they want to speed it up and they don't really necessarily want to get to their half-court offense. But I actually think BYU should, fall into that a little bit. Let Yegor and these guys at Downhall push the pace a little bit. Play Arizona's game a little bit because I think BYU can be successful at it too. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's sort of a gray area because that's where BYU's at their best offensively, right? Is when they're pushing the basketball, grabbing it off the boards, and finding guys down the court. But defensively, we have seen BYU's been prone to some lapses in transition and giving up wide open threes or easy layups or dunks just because of miscommunication, right? And not stopping the ball and things like that. So it's going to be a bit of a balance for the Cougars because you want to fall into that, up-tempo offense. It's worked for them, like you've said, and their pace has increased drastically over the last 4 games, and it's led to wins. But defensively, you got to keep them in check because Arizona, they love to score, and they can do it in bunches if you let them. If you give them open shots, I'm sure they're going to hit them, more often than not. The key is to make those shots tough, and that's where the shooting percentage works in BYU's favor. It's all going to, like you said, Carter, it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think at the end of the day, BYU's defense is going to be to step up and win this game because I think in Provo, with the way they've been playing offensively recently, I think they're going to get the points that they need. It's can they keep Caleb Love and the rest of the Wildcats in check is going to be, in my opinion, the big key to this game.
So we've got a lot to live up to after our UCF predictions. We're getting a lot of love for those. And
I've been thinking about it.
Where are we going here? Predictions for the Arizona BYU game. Give me your MVP for BYU and give me a score prediction.
All right. You can't always be super, super bold in these. So my MVP, which we actually haven't picked the whole season, so I feel like I'm kind of cherry picking here. I'm going to say Richie Saunders is the MVP of the Arizona game, which is pretty easy because he's been the MVP of a lot of these games the way he's been playing. But I like Richie, obviously, to score and the things he's been doing. I love him to just set the tone for BYU and just be annoying on defense for Arizona. I like him to be in guards' faces, forcing them to their offhand where they don't want to go and just being a menace defensively and then doing his thing offensively, knocking down 3-point shots. He's become literally one of the best shooters in the country with his percentages speaking. So I'm giving you Richie Saunders. I know it's not super exciting, but that's who I see as the MVP of this game.
Let's go a little spicy in this game. My MVP for BYU in this game is Caleb Love. I think they need to get into Caleb Love's head and force him to settle for threes. That is the key to beating this Arizona team, is getting into Caleb Love's head and forcing him into these terrible situations. He is prone to taking terrible shots in terrible moments, and you can get in his head very easily. It is a coin flip on how Caleb Love is going to perform. He can look like an All-American one game, and then he can look like he needs to be the 9th guy on the bench in another game. That is the Caleb Love experience in a nutshell. Let's go through Arizona's schedule real quick. In their losses, this is how Caleb Love performed. Now, I'm going to include the Iowa State game first. Iowa State, it was a 3-point game. Caleb Love hits that half-court shot to force overtime. Credit to him, he hit the shot. Before that shot, he was 0 for 9 from 3. Arizona was going to lose that game, and he was 4 for 18 from the field. Okay, let's move on. UCLA they played. He was 3 for 10 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. Arizona lost, only scored 54 points in that game. Texas Tech, he was 3 for 13 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3 in that game. They lost that game by 16. Then you have the Duke game. They lose to home at Duke, 3 for 13 from the field for Caleb Love, 1 for 9 from 3. Wisconsin, 2 for 13 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. And even in the other games where they lost, he played a little bit better. 7 of 18 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3 against Oklahoma. West Virginia, 9 for 20 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3. Force him to shoot threes. Do not let him penetrate. Do not let him find his spots in the paint, mid-range. Make him shoot threes. Make him settle, and that is the way to beat Caleb Love. Look, if he's on that night, he's on. Whatever. There's nothing you can do. He's going to hit shots in two guys' faces. I know from personal experience in the Caleb Love game, but if you force him into these bad shots and this bad decision-making, he's going to be your MVP because he's essentially when Caleb Love is kind of, on a downward spiral in a game, it's essentially a turnover when he takes those stupid threes. And that is the key for BYU in this game is, like you said, keep him in check, but also have him settle for tough threes because he likes to do it. He shoots 32% from 3. Arizona's not a great three-point shooting team, so make them settle for threes. Give me a score prediction, and we'll get out of here.
Score prediction, I'm going to go BYU's been scoring over 80 in all these games, and I don't expect it to change now. I'm going to go BYU 86, Arizona 80. Who's get the win?
Very similar. I have BYU 83, Arizona 79. And for BYU, I think I'm going to cheat here. Yegor's going to have it. I think Yegor, we see a double-double game. I think it's going to be high, fast-tempo game. I think it's going to open the passing game for him a lot, and the lane's going to be open. He's going to be able to get easy drives, not have to settle for threes. I think we see like an 11, 9 or 10 assists, 5 rebound performance from Yegor. He's going to be my MVP for BYU offensively. BYU for this game, their MVP is going to be Caleb Love if they win this game.
I love it. That's such a good pick, actually. That's a great zag. I love it.
All right. I love it. At Church Ball Pod on everything. Subscribe, tune in. Field of 68 Podcast Network. Field of 68 After Dark. All that great stuff on there. At Chase_Rogers0. At CarterB8. We will be doing a instant reaction pod right after the Arizona game from the Marriott Center. Make sure to tune in for that. Cannot wait. If you're at the Marriott Center, say hi to us. We'll be up in the media seats, mid-court, upper bowl. We'll see y'all then Tuesday night at the Marriott Center.